at this point of time, what I have seen AI has been doing in the recruitment function is maybe the administrative or the transactional work has been reduced. So what does that mean? Maybe writing a JD or posting an open role on the job portals or the social network, right? That can be done by AI, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Rahul Abhishek, your host and the founder and CEO of HireWithEve.ai. HireWithEve.ai is an AI agent for applicant screening for recruiters, and it helps increase screening accuracy by 90%. And today we have a very special guest joining us. Welcome, Arnab Niyogi. And
Thank you.
and just to quickly introduce Arnab, Arnab currently serves as the Vice President of Talent Acquisition at Delta Capita, a $560 million company that is a leader in global capital markets and managed services, and is a technology provider. So with that, Arnab, welcome to the podcast. And of course, to kick
Thank
things
you.
off, would be great to learn from you about your journey in your career and how did you reach where you are today.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to today's podcast. I'm honored. I'll start off from the very starting. So I'm basically from Calcutta. So I'm born from Calcutta. Did all my study, graduation, post-graduation, everything from Kolkata before I moved to Delhi. Recruitment industry was more of a by chance, not by choice. Just landed up a job in Delhi with a small consulting firm. And the career kickstarted, was in Delhi for around 4 years, so then moved to Mumbai for a few years, then again came back to Calcutta for almost a decade. And then with Delta Capita in Bangalore, I moved post-COVID around 2022, mid of 2022. So it's been 17, 18 years on both sides of the table. Also been on the recruitment consulting side, and now into the other side of the table, into the in-house TA. Yeah, so that's my journey in a snippet.
Great, great, great. Perfect. So thanks for that. And so let me kick things off. So one of our thinking and belief is that HRs within an organizations are the superheroes, and they are the one who brings the talent together, and then the talent really delivers on the mission and the vision of the company. So what I'd like to understand from you is what are your thoughts on that notion, and also would be great to understand what are some of the key weaknesses that you've noticed within the particular function of HR.
Okay. See, HR is a people function, right? So it is responsible for talent acquisition, people analytics, employee engagement, CSR activities, learning development, conflict management. Though I know many of my friends who are into non-HR field and who are into IT or other finance, legal functions, so they say HR don't do much in the organization. They are only a support function, so they don't have any work basically. So they just do time pass. So that's a notion that many people have, but it's not like that. They are not a profit center. That I do agree, but they are an integral part of the support system, right? Growth of a company depends on the how strong is the people function, right? So superheroes, superpowers, I'll not go into that, but I'll get into the maybe a couple of strengths, what a HR person or HR team need to have in the current scenario. One of it is open-mindedness. They should be open-minded. A closed mind or a narrow vision is something, if it is not what a HR should be. And the second one thing is approachable, as it's a people functions. HR needs to be anyone. So be it a HR manager, be it a recruitment person or a L&D person, or maybe an organizational behavior person. All is part of the HR team, right? But they need to be approachable. Sometimes I've seen HRs are not. They are a bit snobbish. Some HRs are a bit snobbish, right? So people don't reach out to them. They don't get that comfortability to reach out to them and talk to them. So two things: HR needs to be open-minded, approachable, and yes, obviously empathetic. Right? Empathy is something which needs to be inculcated from the very beginning in a HR team. So actually, three: open-mindedness, empathetic, and approachable. These are the three things I think if someone has, any of us has, I think that's a very that will be a very decent HR team which will can take the organization to the next level. Coming to your next part, I think weakness, or I'll not tell it as a weakness, maybe a development points, right? HR shouldn't be biased, right? If there is a biasness in HR, it's a very dangerous thing. It can
Mm.
affect anything: promotions, performance appraisal, recruitment, anything, right? So HR should be non-biased, right? So biasness is a weakness, and I think what else? Resistance to change. So we are changing every day, right? So maybe when I have started 15 years back, and now it has we had a drastic change, right? At that point of time, AI and all those digital hybrid work model, all these things were not there, right? So now it has changed. It has maybe 50% virtual. At that point of time, data didn't play a very important role. Now everything is data driven, right? So things have changed, right? So they should be open to change, and it just should be open to change. So I think two things: biasness is a very important thing, and they should be have a changed mindset. Resistance to change is something shouldn't be there, which may miss out, the organization may miss out in many new developments and productivity.
Okay, okay. I mean, makes sense, and also thank you for in a way, interesting to address it not as a superhero but as a strength, and that has
Right,
a certain perspective to it. So
right, and not weakness, maybe a development points. Yeah.
yeah. Arnab, that was, of course, very interesting to hear then the superhero side from a strength point of view. So let's move on, and would be great to really understand having what has been your vision for the role of HR in driving business growth and success.
See, I see HR as a strategic partner in business growth. When I say strategic partner in business growth, this will include fostering an agile mindset in today's world, leading the change initiatives. As I told in my earlier response, there shouldn't be any resistance to change. So, leading the change initiatives or the process improvement initiatives. That's one strategic partner in business growth. Second thing, I believe the leadership development and succession planning. That is very important for our organization and also for the employees. Succession planning reduces the leadership gaps, right, and helps maintain the business continuity, which basically drives the long-term growth and stability of an organization. And when you do the succession planning and move the junior ones to the next level, the senior ones can also go to the upper level, right? So it's a kind of employee engagement also, right? It's not only because of the business continuity thing that we are doing succession planning or leadership development. It's for the fostering employee engagement culture also, wherein an employee can see their growth opportunities within the organization.
Right.
So second, as I told you, leadership development and succession planning. And lastly, I think the third point I would here is the diversity and inclusion, right? Now we see everywhere this DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. 10 years before, I don't think there was a separate function in an organization that will only focus on DEI. Now, if you see from a very smaller, maybe a 100 a member organization to maybe a organization which is a 10 lakhs employees, they have a separate person for DEI who basically drives the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's important. Diverse and inclusive workforce drives innovation. They enhances problem solving. And by diversity and inclusion, I'm not only saying this male female gender ratio or how many percentage of female employees you have. Diversity can have everything. It can have a cross cultural diversity. It can be a male female ratio. It can be demographic diversity. It can be diversity in terms of sexual orientation. You see this LGBTQI things in most of the companies now. So a diversity and inclusive organization is only an organization wherein there is a they can drive innovation, and they can also attract the top talent. And I think in today's world, that's very important. So earlier, we by diversity we only used to say male female. What percentage of male is there in an organization, what percentage of female is there in an organization. Now it has changed. So as I told you, demographic, cross cultural, sexual orientation, all this falls into diversity and inclusion. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that should be inculcated in all organizations. They're doing that nonetheless. But yeah, I think strategic partner in business growth, leadership development, succession planning, and diversity and equity, and a diverse and equitable organization is what my vision of seeing it.
All right, makes sense, makes sense. And of course, I mean, inclusion of all of these is what then makes the function also that much more critical for the organization,
Correct,
right?
correct,
Um,
correct.
so now on another note, how has then technology and specifically also AI, which is the topic of our time,
Yeah.
how have you seen that transforming the overall function? Would be great to even have some hear some examples that you've noticed. Yeah,
Yeah.
would be great to have a short
Yeah,
discussion.
so from the generation I come from, I started off, I guess, in 2006, 7. So at that point of time, in fact, this Naukri and Times Jobs and Monster, they just started. It just started, right? It was not maybe 50% of the job board people used to use. And that point of time, if you remember, there was a newspaper classifieds. So there would be a column in the newspaper and a page in the newspaper wherein all the jobs details will be given, and there will be walk-ins, or they will ask you to send a CV in a PO box, right? So from that time, from that generation, I have come from. And now I see this AI, and now they call it Gen AI. It's not AI anymore. They call it Gen AI, right? So AI has it's still nascent. Last maybe 3 4 years, or 3 4 years, it has picked up, right? So if you talk about my function, recruitment, I'll be able to relate in a more uh, a relatable way. In recruitment, I believe AI has taken maybe a 30% of the workload away from the recruiters. But there is no reason to think that they will take maybe 70% of the workload or 100% of the workload, and the recruiters will vanish. It will not be that, right? So at this point of time, what I have seen AI has been doing in the recruitment function is maybe the administrative or the transactional work has been reduced. So what does that mean? Maybe writing a JD, or posting an open role on the job portals or the social network, right? That can be done by AI, right? Or maybe summarizing a CV. Maybe a 5 pages CV can be summarized in 1 page. So that can be done by AI, right? Filtering the initial applications from hundreds and thousands of applications that gets trashed in your system or your inbox, right? They can you can train the AI in such a way that they will filter out certain things, and you will get a more crisp and narrow uh, a template of CVs, right? Maybe sending the interview mailers, right? Or maybe nowadays there are chatbots which are there in the in many of the organization who can initiate the initial discussion, right? So these are the few things I think the transaction and administrative work has been reduced of the recruiters, which I think is a good thing. So they can concentrate more on the non-transactional part.
Hmm.
Maybe speaking to the candidates, sourcing more relevant CVs, right?
Right.
So though some people have a fear that AI will take the entire thing from the recruitment or the HR function, it's not like that. Human touch point is very important. Let's be very clear on that, right? Without human touch point, you will not be able to survive. AI will take away your transactional and the administrative work, which I think is a positive thing. So if you tell me where I see this AI thing going, maybe in the next 2 years or 4 years down the line, it will remain the same. Just that I think it will get more customized or more filtered out, more sophisticated, right? But except the transactional things, I don't think AI will be able to take away human intervention. That's very important, and that will is there and will stay for in the future.
All right, all right. That is, of course, interesting. So going deeper into the talent acquisition aspect of it, would be great to know what are some of your strategies for talent acquisition. What are some of the challenges you face in talent acquisition, and then also how potentially you're addressing it.
So you mean to say the retention policies also?
Retention, we can take it
Right.
up next. Let's start from talent acquisition, and then we can go to
Yeah.
retention.
See, a talent acquisition, I see, we encourage a lot of campusing, right? So we have a Delta Capital Learning Academy, right? Wherein we take in people from the campus. So may not be a tier one campus, right? Maybe a tier two or a tier three. Uh, we take in people, fresh grads, fresh BTechs, and they go through maybe a 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or 12 weeks program in the DC Learning Academy. They stay there as interns. We give them a certain stipend, right? And once that period of maybe an 8 weeks and 12 weeks is done, wherein they go through extensive training, uh, day in and day out. Uh, and then we moved them to the floor. I mean, then we converted them to full-time employees, right? So this DC Learning Academy has been a success for us in the last 3 years. Not only in Bangalore, we do it in Singapore also. We do it in London also. London is more bigger. DC in DC Bangalore, I think we have just started last 2 years. So this DC Learning Academy, and we have seen people as who has just coming as a trainee intern. They are here since the last 3 years. Last 3 years, DC started in Bangalore in 2021. So effectively, we're a 3 years, 3.5 years organization, right? So we can see people who have joined that point of time as training in 2021, they have grown in the system, right? They're still there. They are from analysts, they have already become senior analysts. So they have seen the growth trajectory. So that has been one of the areas of talent acquisition which we have very thoughtfully inculcated. And second thing is also the word of mouth publicity, right?
Hmm.
A word of mouth publicity is very important. Uh, so that's the reason we have a very strong employee referral program, right? So almost 30% of our open vacant positions gets filled through employee referrals across all the levels, right? So that's a good ratio, in fact, right? We are not someone who recruits 500 people in a year or thousands of people in a year. We are a mid-sized firm. We recruit around 70, 80, 100 maybe in a year. And if out of that 70, 80, 100, your 25, 30% of the positions are filled through internal referrals or employee referrals, that speaks about the work culture of the company. So people who
Right.
refer, they know that they are in a good culturally good company wherein they get the flexibility. They it's not like we do micromanagement. So all these things, right, actually encourages the current employees to refer people. And also we have a very strong employee referral program. We have revamped it now from the last 2 months, right? They are paid well. Each of the employee who refers candidates and they successfully join and complete the 3 months of probation period, we pay a good amount of employee referral amount. So all these factors, I think, yes, has been we have been doing over the last few years, which has been seen by the employees and the new joiners as a positives, and I think we'll continue to do those. It's all dynamic, right? But we'll continue to do those and try and explore more opportunities and more avenues.
That's great to hear. And of course, referral, when it comes from an employer themselves, then they're much more participating in the business as well. And it's a
Right,
win-win, obviously. So
right.
let's talk about retention now. So what has been the retention strategies as well as challenges that you've seen over your years in the function?
Yeah, so see, retention, first and foremost, let's be very honest and crystal clear. 50% of the motivation to work in a company is money, the commercials, right? Now
Of
if I
course.
tell you we are a very friendly company, we have flexibility, we have work from home, we give you pick up and drop, but we don't pay you money, so people will not stay. So let's be very honest on that. Let's not beat around the bush.
Of course.
So we pay well, right? Delta Capita, as I told you, is a mid-sized company. We are close to 1,600 people at this point of time across all locations. And if you see and search Delta Capita maybe over LinkedIn and go to the people part, you will see 80% or more than that, 85% of the people who are working maybe in Bangalore or London or Singapore or Dublin, they're all from the banking GCCs, the investment banking GCCs. So people are here from HSBC, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, Barclays. People are here from IT firms like Accenture, IBM, Cognizant. People are here from the big fours like Ernst& Young or KPMG. So obviously, if we need to attract talent from these companies, we need to pay well, right? We are not as well known as those firms that I named, right? So we need to have a differentiating factor, not only money, but money is one of them, right? So a retention strategy or whatever strategy you may call it, competitive compensation and benefits is something which is non-negotiable. So, and we pay well at par with all these firms that I named and mentioned, right? Next is flexibility. There is no micromanagement here. We have an open door policy. So if you want to meet the CEO or if you want to meet a business head or a business stakeholder, maybe in Bangalore, or if you want to have a chat with one of our executive directors in London, right? You are free to do so. You can ping that person on Teams directly, or in Bangalore, you can walk up to that person in his workstation and talk to them. So those multiple layers of protocols are not here. So maybe in a bigger company, if you want to maybe meet a executive director or a business line head, you need to first ask your boss will ask his super boss, and there are multiple layers, right? You will have to book a calendar, mail, right? So here it's a very open door policy. You can interact with anyone and everyone you want to. So that flexibility is there. There is no micromanagement. We are not a kind of a company who says you need to be in the system from 9 hours or 10 hours. Otherwise, you will get a mail from the HR team that your active hours is less, or why haven't you log in at this amount of time. All these things are not there. It's very flexible, no micromanagement, and we expect people to work independently without any micromanagement. Supervision is there, that's important, but micromanagement is not here. So that's, I think, one of the very uh, important retention policy that we have. and we always foster a very positive work culture. So if you see in Bangalore office also, we have a lot of events. We have a book club, we have a cricket club, we have a running club in place. We do some, we do summer drinks party, we do Christmas parties, we do year-end parties. Year-end parties now coming up next Saturday, right? So at least in a year, in a calendar year of 365 days, we do at least 12 to 15 events. So that's more than, on an average, more than one event a month, right? And wherein everyone is invited, right? It can be afternoon lunch party. It can be evening drinks and dinner party, right? It can be going to movie, or it's maybe going to orphanage and doing some community things, right? Across all levels and all employees, this participation is very important in building a sense of pride and a sense of inclusiveness, right? So that we have been doing over the years. And as I told you, we very much is into succession planning. So every year we run a leadership development program, right? Wherein we choose the management of the stakeholders, choose around 4 to 5 people from the organization, and we have some external vendors, and they go through almost a 6 months training program, right? In terms of leadership development, there are various modules, there are various mock tests, exercises. Uh, all these things build up next 6 months, and then they obviously get a certificate of completion, and that also make them future ready, right? So maybe a associate can aspire to be an AVP. I as a VP can aspire to be a director. A director can aspire to be an executive director, right? So we run this learning leadership development program. We have just started last year, and it has been a very huge success. So, and we plan to continue it, not only in Bangalore. I'm talking about globally, right? From each of the locations, we choose the management choose 4 to 5 members, and they go through this extensive training program, and at the end of it, they obviously get certificate of completion, and I think they become future ready.
Great. I mean, those are really fantastic examples, initiatives that are being taken on the company's front, and then probably you're leading. So, in fact, connected to that would be my next question, which is then what are some of the challenges that you as an HR leader face in your role? And then also would be interesting to know how are you going about addressing them
Challenges in terms of,
in terms of an HR leadership topic challenges.
okay, okay. See, whatever we do, there will be some attrition, right?
Right.
Retention policies there. We do try to retain employees, but obviously retention is can't be 100%, right? We always try to retain a good employee, but it's not always possible, right? But still, at this point of time, I think our retention percentage our attrition percentage is not more than 15%, uh, 15 to 18%. The industry standard is somewhere around, I guess, 20 to 22%. So a challenge is there in terms of retention people, but I think over the last 2 years we have been doing well. So a 15 to 18% attrition ratio, I will any day will take it, right? Because we are much lower than the industry standard, right? So challenges, sometimes people come up with counter offers, so they expect that we will give them one more counter offer. So we are not into all those, right? Otherwise, the retention or the attrition would have been much lesser. But if a person has already decided that they will leave, right, for a better future, so it's a golden handshake, right? It's
Right.
not that we don't we don't burn the bridges, right? It's a mutual decision to get them to leave. But any which ways, retention will always be a problem for any organization. But you need to negate that to the least possible percentage, and I think we have been doing that successfully.
Yeah, and of course makes sense. So, so Arnab, now we are coming to an end to our podcast. So, one of my final question to you is, what would be your advice to the younger generation who are looking to get into the function of HR, and what should they think about it? How should they prepare for it? What should they expect?
Few pointers. I think since the time that we have started, uh, uh, I have a PGDM in HR, but some of the things, the books or the curriculum will not teach you until you are in the system, right?
That
On
is,
the job, right? So a few things for the now what they call Gen Z or Gen Alpha, what I
yeah,
think
Gen Z. Yeah.
one Gen Z and Gen Alphas and all. We were millennials, I guess, if I'm not wrong. So few of the things you need to have very strong communication skills. By strong communication skills, I don't mean to say that you need to have a very excellent verbal skills or excellent writing skills, and you are talking with all grammatically correct. That's not I'm talking about strong communication skills. You need to connect to people, right? You need to focus on building strong communication and strong relationships and networks, right? In the initial days of your career, right? So strong communication means strong relationships and strong network. This skill is very important for the newer generation. Uh, Data is the king of the day, right? We all talk about data, data, data. It's all data driven decisions. Uh, so people or the younger generation should not be afraid of this data thing, right? They should be good in interpreting data, right? So interpretation is very, very important at this point of time also, and I'm sure 2 years, 5 years down the line, it will be more important, right? When we started off, this data-driven thing were not there, right? But now everything you talk about, you need to back up with data, right, and statistics.
Yeah.
So they should be very, very comfortable and very strong in interpreting data. And as we were talking about these AI and Gen AI things, they should be interested and focused on mastering the AI tools, AI technology, HR tools, right? Because sometimes I have seen in in the past that there is some skill gaps. There is some skill gaps. There is often a skill gap between those who implement maybe the AI system or the HR technology in a tool, integrate them, and the end user, that is the recruiters, right, or the HR personals, right? So there is a huge skill gap difference between one who implements it in the system and one who uses it, right? Recruiters and HR professionals should have adequate training on that to work efficiently and smoothly in the HR systems, and only training can do that. I'll talk about my experience in my last company. At that point of time, I think they newly integrated few of the AI tools and AI features in our internal ATS. And it took me around 6 months to figure out all the functions and what are the features, how they work and all, because that training was not there, right? So the young generation should be open to use the HR tools technology, but yes, sufficient training should be given to them, right? And lastly, I think, which is very, very important, I think they should know about the business side, right? So suppose HR or a recruitment or a learning and development person, whoever it may be, uh, if they are working in a manufacturing plant setup, they should know the business model, the business side of it. If they're working maybe in a IT setup, they should know that business model, because the psyche or the thought process of employees who are working in a plant on a manufacturing plant floor, and someone who is working maybe from a boardroom or a we work in an IT setup, their psyche and thought process will be different. So being an HR, understanding the business side is very important. So you don't need to be a subject matter expert, but you should always know what is your company doing, what is the process, what is the business model, right? So they shouldn't be escaping from, I am a HR, I am a recruitment person, what will you do? Understanding the business. No, that's very important, because a thought process of a person in a plant and a thought process of a person maybe in a big four consulting firm, that's totally different.
Makes sense. And actually, this is extremely important for any generation, but any generation that is about to join the workforce
True,
should understand this concept that you need to know the business you're getting into. And
right.
yeah, I mean, those are very valuable, I would say, advice for the generation. So with that, Arnab, I'd like to thank you for your time and your insights,
Yeah.
and yeah, wish you the very best going ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me here. It was indeed an engaging discussion. Thanks once again. Hope to see you soon.
Sure. Thank you.